Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 88 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host today. Today, we've got a quick note that got thrown in over at the blog, a comment for the blog. Do a shave of the day from Thursday. On the way to work the other day, I realized that, well, things are filling up. You know, back when I started out, and I was in the boonies, and it just doesn't seem to be that way anymore, so I talk about that a little bit. I talk about the shave of the days over the weekend and Monday and everything else. And then I do what I have been threatening to do, which is, well, we had the battle of the lightweight razors. We have a head-to-head, if you will, against the Mercure Bakelite double-edged razor and a Gillette disposable. Plastic, pivoting head and all, but still a lightweight razor. So I did a head-to-head with both of those, and I'll tell you all about that. Now, the whole time this week, I was using the Phoenix Artisan Accoutrement, otherwise known as Phoenix, Speakeasy. I'll tell you about my experience with the Speakeasy soap. And then finally we finish up with, the motivation. Why do certain people or corporations or whatever do certain things? What is their motivation? You know, how did we get here? Sometimes it's because somebody was motivated to change things. And we'll talk about that. So let's get on with this show. I got a comment on the blog from Josh. Hi, Rick. Just a message of support and thanks. I always appreciate your individualism and your great communication skills and your enthusiasm for communicating. We're probably at opposite ends of the political and religious spectrums. I'm far left, but I always get that you are a free thinker and you put a lot of thought into your life, your decisions, and the decisions that you observe other people making. Keep thinking, my man. Well, Josh, thanks a lot. Actually, if we were to sit down, now granted, I am a tad conservative in most things, but I'm probably more of a, I don't know, anarchist than anything else. I just want people to leave me alone, and I can just probably get along fine without any intervention from anybody. But that's just me. But hey, you know, it doesn't matter to me what person's religious views are, what their political views are, as long as they can make a good argument. I had an instructor one time in one of my college courses for legal stuff. Great guy. I was absolutely at opposite viewpoints from him, but his point of view was, I don't care what you believe as long as you can argue convincingly your side of the situation. And we used to sit there and argue constantly about everything. And it was great because at the end of the day, we both sit there and go, yeah, you made some good points. And he'd do the same with me. And we walked away from there going, okay, yeah, that was good. He had some good points. I had some good points. I'll get him next time. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. The biggest thing I think, and this is, it doesn't matter what venue you're in, really. The biggest point is that if somebody says something that you don't agree with, that you don't get, well, upset. They're allowed to have their viewpoints. They're allowed to have their opinions. They're even allowed to say nasty things. It's okay. It's really it's up to you as to how you react. That's the part that you control. But they can say or do just about whatever they want, as long as it doesn't cause personal injury or harm. What's the problem? It's interesting that we've gotten to a point in our society in some cases where just mere words will throw people off the edge and turn them violent. And you have to question, Okay, who benefits from that? Who is actually encouraging that behavior? Because it wasn't necessarily so in the past, but it is becoming more and more commonplace. So we'll talk about that a little bit on today's show, because one of the things that I talk about is motivation. And every now and then, it really behooves us as a society, as a population, as a group of hobbyists, whatever, to step back and try to understand what is motivating people to do certain things. Because there's a lot of people that are benefiting from a lot of stuff that, well, you don't really think about or you don't really notice. So we'll talk about that. Anyhow, Josh, great to hear from you. Thank you very much for the good stuff that you put in your note there for the blog. I do appreciate it that you think I have great communication skills. I'm still practicing, kind of like I am with a straight razor. It's one of those things. The more you use it, the better you get. So we keep practicing, and, well, maybe one day I'll get it right. All right, another beautiful day, and things are going well. Great shave of the day today. I did something that I had threatened to do last week and, well, forgot. I had threatened to put a Gillette silver blue blade in my Mercure Bakelite razor and see how it went. And I did that this morning. Holy cow. What a razor. It almost felt like it wasn't even there. Now, I like feathers. All right, feathers are nice. Feathers are sharp. Feathers do a very, very nice job. They're very efficient. But they're not as smooth for me as the Gillette Silver Blue. And so the Gillette Silver Blue is just not quite as sharp, and but it is so much smoother. And so through the Gillette Silver Blue blade in the Mercure Bakelite razor, and had a go. Wow, nice shave. Now for the soap, I used some Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, PAA. We'll just call them Phoenix. And I used some Gondolier. Now, 3 weeks ago, I used Speakeasy. Today, I used Gondolier. If you were to do a blind smell test between the two of them, I don't know that I could tell a difference. I'm thinking that it's about the same soap. It's got almost, to my nose, at this point, without actually doing this side to side, but just going off memory here, it has just about the same smell profile between Speakeasy and Gondolier. So I'll keep an eye on that, and maybe I will do a blind test, and have my wife mix them up, a few adult beverages, and yeah, one of those. We'll see. Anyhow, the soap, of course, just like all Phoenix soaps, lathered up beautifully and does a fine job. And I was able to get a very, very nice shave. Now, the other thing that's interesting is I don't know if it's the weather, I don't know if what I've been doing. My hands are a little rough. And so it's very difficult for me to say whether it's BBS or not, because I don't know if I'm feeling the roughness of my hands or my face. It's just one of those things. Oh, well. To my estimation, it's pretty close to BBS, so it's all good. Anyhow, the aftershave this morning is a little Jaloux Veiled Flowers. It's springtime after all, and I'm wearing a nice light purple shirt and just kind of springtime colors and smells, and yeah, good stuff. It's one of those days where, you're looking around and the sun's out and it's just beautiful and things are blooming and there's flowers and the trees are budding and you're just kind of going, yeah, this is nice. The weather's perfect. It's not too hot. Yeah, this is, it may be coming close to the middle of spring here, and well, it's just a beautiful time of year. There's life. there's lots of life, and sometimes that just that invigorates. So, good stuff this morning. Well, I've been noticing something, and in particular because of where I live. Back when I moved in to where I live, there was just hardly anybody here. The city that I live around, there is a certain spot that everybody was congregating to, and that's where all the housing developments were, and quite honestly, that's where all the real estate agents seem to be pushing people. Well, when we got here, we didn't want to live in that area. We wanted to live, kind of out in the boonies, kind of out in a spot where, it's not quite out in the country, but, maybe just on the edge. And, it was convenient for both me and my wife to get to work, good road access and everything, but not a lot of traffic. And the reason there wasn't a lot of traffic is because there just wasn't that many people. And the thing that I have been noticing is that, over the course of our lives here, there have suddenly gotten to be more and more and more people. And it seems almost to be exponential. It wasn't too bad, say, 5 years ago or even 3 years ago. It was tolerable, and now it's like there's people everywhere. Now, there is a benefit to that, of course. The reason that there are people here is because there are jobs here. That's one thing that I must say is that South Carolina appears to have done a fairly reasonable job of getting the jobs here and maintaining what they have. It's almost like they learned from the textile debacle and decided that, maybe it's a good thing if we keep the jobs here locally, and don't let them ship out overseas. Imagine that. Anyhow, the end effect, of course, is that there's more and more people. So in some instances, it can be exceedingly frustrating because I hate to say this, but back when, driving around on some of these old country roads, it's like, you put yourself at a comfortable speed and, you went to where you were going. Nowadays, you've got two kinds of people that are that frustrate that effort. Number one, the ones that are driving 20 miles an hour because they really don't know where they are. And the other ones are the ones that are driving 20 miles an hour because they're scared. Oh my God, we don't want to break the law. We don't want, there might be kids. It's just, you don't know, whatever. It's like, I'm used to driving some of these roads at, 45, 50 miles an hour, just kind of bebopping along. Well, like you do out in the country. And you can't do that with these people that have, just recently moved in and just, I don't know. It drives me crazy. Told the wife the other day, we need to look for some place that's, back out on the boonies. Oh, well. Now, the thing that I can relate that to is, back in the day, there were only so many soap manufacturers. There were only so many razor manufacturers. There were only so many brush manufacturers. The neighborhood is filling up. It's, every time I turn around, there's another soap, and it's like, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of these guys. I don't know who they are. I'm sure they make good stuff, but I have no idea that they even existed. And same with brushes. It's like, all of a sudden, there's another guy that, makes custom brushes. It's like, cool, but I never knew he was here. The neighborhood is filling up. Now, don't get me wrong. For the wet shaving community, this is not a bad thing because, first off, it means that there is enough jobs, kind of like here in South Carolina, there's enough jobs to keep these people occupied. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. So that is a good thing. But just from my own personal standpoint, it's getting hard to keep track. Either that or else I'm just getting old. Shh. That could be it too. Don't tell anybody. But it was just something that I noted while I was sitting in traffic on the road that I have traveled for the last so many years with virtually no traffic, and all of a sudden it's just filled up. I have more time to talk. Yeah. So that was one of the things that I noticed, because it is filling up. Every now and then I'll I check out the YouTube channels and things like that, and watch the videos, and there are soaps on there. It's like I have no idea. I didn't know these were available. It's just, oh well. I guess that's part of the problem, is that this hobby of mine called wet shaving is, it's not an all-encompassing hobby. I have other hobbies as well, and so they distract me. Now, don't get me wrong, I kind of enjoy distractions. It keeps my mind occupied. So I've always got my fingers in something, and so I'm not. I don't live, eat, sleep, and breathe wet shaving. Although it wouldn't be a bad way to go, but it's I do other stuff too. So it's like I turn around and look at some of these, some of the. I don't spend much time on forums, just because I find them, rather distasteful in a lot of cases. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there that's just like, nah, I'd rather not. So, mainly I get my information from Facebook and the YouTube and things like that, a little bit on Twitter. And although Twitter is becoming, for me, I used to really like Twitter, and now it's becoming kind of, I don't know, it's filling up too. And maybe I need to pare down who I'm following or what, but it's just, I don't know, it's filling up with just stuff. It's hard to keep track of all this stuff. It's hard to maintain some semblance of order, if you will. Anyhow, it was just one of those observations that I made this morning as I was driving to work, going, this has similarities in a lot of things. And again, like I said, it's a good thing, because that means there's jobs. Either, whether I'm talking about the fact that I have more people living around me, or to the fact that there's more stuff in wet shaving. It means there's more jobs. It means there's more people that are interested in what we have. And that's a good thing, because, the more and more that we evangelize and that we talk about this stuff, to me personally, I think the better off the whole community is going to be. The better off humans are going to be. It's just my own personal take on it. Granted, maybe I'm a 60s radical and just want to stick it to the man. Well, then again, maybe not. Well, it's another fabulous morning, and we have made it through the weekend, and I haven't been recording much in the truck here lately, because my batteries died. And then I got busy, and, it's just one thing after another. Okay, so what have we done? Well, from a shave of the day point of view, we have been using the Phoenix Gondolier, which, quite honestly, even now, I can't tell much of a difference between the Gondolier and the Speakeasy. They seem to be, almost the same stuff. I may be wrong, but it seems to be almost the same stuff. So, been using a variety of brushes. I've used my Badger brush or my Boar brush, Plisson, synthetic. The Gondolier, and the reason that I'm stalling here is because every time I say Gondolier, I want to say Speakeasy, because in my head they're the same dang thing. Anyhow, so the soaps have very nicely lathered every time, no matter what brush I put to them. I've tried blooming, I've tried not blooming. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference for me anyhow, as far as the scent profile. Blooming is just, I don't know, it's one of those controversial things, I guess. It's just, for me, it doesn't do anything. It's nice and it sounds good and it makes you sound like, ooh, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. But my suggestion is try it on the soap that you're using. If it makes a difference, great. If it doesn't, don't do it, unless you want to. Because, like I said, for me, I can't tell any significant difference one way or another. I mean, other than the fact that, okay, the soap is kind of damp, moistened, soft, whatever at the top, and you can load a brush easier. So if you're having problems loading a brush, okay, maybe blooming will help. But, I mean, for me, from the scent profile standpoint, it doesn't do anything. And in fact, I wonder sometimes if the issue with blooming is that people aren't loading their brush enough. And because they're not loading their brush enough, they don't get as much of the scent because they don't have as much of the soap. And then, of course, when they bloom, the top of the soap puck is softer. They load it more, and therefore, because they've loaded more soap onto the brush, they get more of a scent because there's more soap to start off with. But as far as performance or anything like that goes, it hadn't done anything for me. So that's kind of it on the soap front. The smell that I get is just, I don't know, just a bergamot smell. It's everything else is so hidden in the background, I can't really tell what it is. Now, the other thing I've noticed, and it's basically on both sides, but it's real predominant on my right side, is that I have a bit of a glide issue in one area on my face. Now, here's the question that I have, is that, okay, is it the soap or is it my face? Is it, I'm washing my face before I lather, but then I'm not wetting my face. So maybe that area in my face is either drying faster, shedding water quicker, whatever, and not getting as much moisture as everything else, and it's affecting the glide just a bit. But I have noticed that. It's up on the cheekbone area, if you will, on the right side. It's just curious, and I've noticed it with the Phoenix soaps. Not so much with the others, but with the Phoenix soaps. And it may be that when I lather them just a bit dry. I may need to lather them just a bit more to get full, the full benefit, if you will. But it's one of those things that as you go on and experiment with soaps, it's one of those things that maybe you'll run into, and sometimes changing the amount of water in your lather will greatly enhance and improve things. Whereas on the other hand, if you put too much water in, or what you would think would be the right amount of water in, sometimes it degrades things the opposite way. So, that's part of the experimentation, and it also would probably depend on the hardness of your water, et cetera, et cetera. So experimentation, well, is the order of the day, as with everything wet shaving. So, from the blade standpoint, my Gillette Silver Blue blade is doing a fine job. I used it, well, except for okay, here's an admission. It's Monday morning now, okay? I shaved on Saturday afternoon. Well, no, actually I didn't. I shaved on Sunday because I didn't even shave on Saturday. I spent the whole day Saturday out in the yard. Wow, I'm here to tell you. Talk about working my butt off. I spread mulch, I redid the backyard, raked up, got the garden ready. It was like, by the time I got done, I am still today, my grip is sore, okay? My thumb is sore. Everything is just sore. So, good stuff there. I mean, I enjoy working out in the yard, don't get me wrong, but, every now and then you have one of those days where it's just an absolute blowout. Yeah, that was Saturday for me. It was, now the good news is I started out the morning out in the band field, helping, repair some stuff on the band field, getting ready for, the mini practices that they're fixing to have this week and next week, I believe. They have a waterer, so that the kids can get water, and, the valve on it had frozen, and they didn't have a drain on it, and so somebody had got the parts and pieces, but that while they were doing everything else, they needed some help plumbing it in, and, well, I just happened to show up, and voila! And the best part of that was that I got to teach some young kids, some people, young people, if you will. See, well, there was one that was a freshman, and then the youngest, she was the oldest, and the youngest was coming into 4th grade, I believe it was. So we taught them all about PVC, how to cut PVC, how to join it, how to prep it, how it works, the whole 9 yards, how to think through the problem. And they were actually a big help, really were. And I think they enjoyed learning about it as well. It's one of those things that, I have this tendency, if there are kids around, I am going to teach them. Whether they want to or not, well, I can't say that. If they're going to hang around, they're going to learn something. And, yeah. So they may not have to do any work, but they're at least going to learn something. So the trivia question, of course, is whose name is on the lid, on the underside of the lid for the watering valve? And it's those 4 kids because, well, they helped. And I couldn't have done it without them. And they deserved having their name put on it. So, like I told them, I said, it's your Banfield. Your name should be on here. So anyhow, that's what we did Saturday, and it was just kind of tiring. Yesterday, I was just kind of picking up a little bit, and well, sort of kind of recovering more than anything else. But so Sunday, trying to get my dates right. Sunday, I used the Phoenix, a Badger brush, and I used my straight razor, and then I cleaned up with my Mercure Bakelite with the Gillette silver blue in it. So so far I've digressed completely off chart here, but the moral of the story is my Gillette silver blue blade is doing a real good job, and it probably has one more day in it, and then it'll be pretty much over with as far as a smooth shave. You can still shave with these things. That's the other thing that's interesting. You can still shave with a dull blade. A blade that isn't cutting quite as well, quite as nicely, quite as cleanly. You can still shave with it, and you can still get socially acceptable shaves all day long with it. It just requires a little bit more pressure. As the blade dulls, just put a little bit more pressure on it, and you can get some very nice shaves. Now, you may have some irritation that goes along with that because, you are dragging the thing harder across your skin. Okay, so if you're willing to accept a little bit more irritation and willing to accept putting a little bit more pressure on, you can get an exceptional number of shaves with a double-edged blade. It's so if you really want to save some money, a quarter a week, if it costs that much for one of these blades, is pretty good compared to what they charge you for a cartridge. But when you can take that and extend that on to 2 weeks, 3, maybe a month, and you're willing to accept some irritation, yeah, you can shave for just about next to nothing. It's really, yeah. Anyhow, the Gillette Silver Blue is doing a fine job. Now, the razor that I'm using is my Mercure Bakelite. And I have threatened, and I haven't done it yet. I might do it tomorrow or Wednesday, is to do just a quick comparison side by side, head to head between that Mercure with I'll have to put a new blade in it though, but I may go ahead and do that. Just throw a blade in there. But check that Mercure out against a disposable, because they're about the same weight. Just a disposable 2-edged razor. Just do one side with one and the other side with the other and see what happens. I may do that next couple of days, because that's one of the reasons that I wanted to find my Mercure. So stay tuned. We'll see if we can't make that happen. Now, as far as the aftershaves and stuff, I've used some of my Brute. I've used my Clubman. This morning I used some Phoenix Bay Rum, which my wife doesn't like. And yeah, so but I enjoy it. It gives a nice face feel because it's got the aluminum in it, and really does. It gives a nice face feel. So I do enjoy that. But, we've been mixing it up a little bit when it comes to aftershaves and having a good time there. Just, I don't know, just kind of, picking something out that, well, maybe just strikes our fancy at the moment for no other reason than that, I suppose. So anyhow, all in all, that's kind of where we're at. It's just, it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. And that's the main thing. It's been fun. That's the whole reason for doing this. That's the whole reason for doing the wet shaving. That's the whole reason for doing the podcast. Because it's fun. It's enjoyable. Now, again, like I said on Saturday, the other enjoyment that I have in life is teaching, and I enjoy terribly the teaching of young minds. It's interesting to see how their minds put two and two together and how they will associate. And in fact, one of the girls that was there that I was teaching about PVC, I told her being able to do this has a lot of benefits. She immediately piped up. She said, yeah, then you don't have to pay somebody else to do it. And I'm thinking, bingo. And I said, or if you do pay somebody else to do this, you can know when they're just flat lying to you, because when they say that this PVC job is going to take a week and cost $10,000, you can just look at them and laugh. And she's sitting there nodding her head. She got that. She was all into that. It was it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things, and I get these comments sometimes from parents that do not have, or that they have boys in scouting and they're wondering what to do with their daughters. And I tell them, I said, well, bring them on. This is, the stuff that we teach in scouts. It's like, they can't be scouts, but they can hang out with us. That's fine. I'm cool with that. But the things that are taught in scouting, things like being trustworthy, things like being resourceful, ready to do things from a first aid standpoint, knowing how to do stuff. Those aren't just scout skills. Those aren't just like boy skills or guy skills. Those are like life skills for people. So anybody that tells you, oh yeah, you can't teach that to girls, baloney. Girls need to know this just as much as guys do. Girls need to know how to deal with first aid. Girls need to know how to be honest and trustworthy. Girls need to know how to make fires. Girls need to know knots. I mean, if you want to be if you truly want to be a self-reliant individual, there are certain things that you need to know. You need to know how to cook. You need to know how to clean. You need to know proper grooming and things like that. I mean, that's just a self-reliant human being. So anybody that tells you, ooh, yeah, that's a Boy Scout thing, baloney. That's a people thing. Whether you're a Boy Scout, Girl Scout, whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an adult. I'll teach anybody. It doesn't matter. People need to know this. People need to know how to. It's like, do you just have guys as the ones who know how to safely operate and shoot firearms? Or is that something that everybody should know? Do you have only guys that need to know and understand how to use a lighter or a match to make a fire, or how to grill food, or how to cook, or how to use cast iron, or how to clean, or even something as simple as how to iron a shirt? Is ironing a shirt, is that women's work? Is that just a girl thing? Or should everybody know how to do that in order to present themselves in a neat and clean appearance? Wow. Soapbox time, huh? It's just one of those push-button things for me. And anyhow, this all started out as a shave of the day and kind of went off the rails quick because I haven't been recording for a while. A lot on my mind. So anyhow, we're almost at work, and we got to go in here and make some donuts, I suppose, or do something. Whatever it is they call it, and whatever it is they want me to do, well, we'll go in there and do it. But the good news is that we'll go in there in a neat and clean appearance with a nice shave, a good-smelling aftershave, and a lot of confidence because, well, just because. Hope you have a good day too. Okay, let's talk about the shave of the day. I had threatened this yesterday, and in fact said, yeah, I'm going to try to do this if at all possible, and well, it was possible. So today I did a head-to-head and did a comparison between a Gillette Good News razor. Well, it might not have been a Good News because it had a pivoting head, and I don't think the Good News has a pivoting head. Anyhow, a Gillette disposable razor, plastic, disposable two-blade razor with a pivoting head versus the Mercure Bakelite with a fresh feather blade. Now, for this test, for this head-to-head comparison / battle, went ahead and lathered up some Phoenix Gondolier and used a boar brush, my Samog 1305, and proceeded to lather up and shave away. Now, what I did was I went ahead and lathered, did one pass in one direction, then I lathered up again without, didn't rinse off or anything, just lathered up again. Did another pass in another direction, then lathered up again, did another pass in another direction. So it's 3-pass shave on both. Then I rinsed off and, checked the results. And this is what I found. Okay. There was actually a little bit more irritation on the Gillette disposable razor side when I rinsed off. There was just a touch more irritation there on that side. I used about the same amount of pressure, in other words, like hardly any at all, and both were fresh razors. So it's not like I have the second shave on them. It's not like the blade is smoothed out a little bit. I mean, this is just, basically right out of the box, just sharp, but irritating as it can be for both blades. The pivoting head gave a slight advantage to the Gillette, only because I didn't have to worry about blade angle. It was what it was. Okay. What I found was the Gillette. I ended up doing a few more strokes, almost a burnishing stroke, if you will, in a couple of places. And there was a little bit more touch-up needed and cleanup needed with the Gillette. The Mercure just gave a very nice shave, did a good job. A little bit of touch-up needed on the neck, but all in all, not too bad. The Gillette, even though I did touch-up, still did not get the neck area as smooth. And in the process, it resulted in, like I said, a little bit more irritation. And the tail of the Illume block told it all. There was, with the Illume block, a bit more, not a whole lot more, but a bit more irritation on the Gillette side. So, all in all, the weight is similar. It's not, the Gillette weighs a little bit less than the Mercure. The Mercure is just a tad heavier. But they are similar in comparison if you make the comparison between those two versus the comparison between a metal, a brass, or whatever, a double-edged razor, and the Mercure, or a Gillette disposable. So it's at least closer. It's in the ballpark. Let's put it that way. And I wanted to try them, just to see. So when it's all said and done, what are my observations? Okay. You could probably do a very decent job of, getting good shaves in the morning. If you are coming off cartridge razor or disposables or something like that, and just going with better soaps. Get yourself a brush, get yourself some soaps, and go that route. Yeah, stay away from the double-edged and single-edged razors for right now. Just play around with the soaps. Get used to that. You can probably do a pretty decent job. Is it as smooth as a double-edged, with a fresh blade? It's close, but it's not as smooth. Like I said, it's close. it would be socially acceptable. In fact, with a little bit of extra work and maybe an extra pass and some touch-ups and a little bit more, practice, finesse, a couple more shaves on a blade, maybe a touch more pressure. Yeah, it'd probably date night smooth type thing. But it's not as, it just didn't seem to be as fundamentally a close shaver as the Mercure. Now, the Mercure, in my experience, has been a very nice, very gentle, very good razor. Haven't had any problems with it at all, and in fact, it's very reminiscent and reminds me a lot of the vintage Gillette razors. So, from that regard, I would say, you could probably start off very, very nicely with just, soap and brush. Use the cartridge razors or disposables if you need to, or if nothing else, it would give you an opportunity to, see if you like it, see if there's something in there that is appealing, and then from there step over into a double-edged or a single-edged razor and see how that works, and knowing that if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to the cartridge razors or the disposables. That's the nice thing. You can mix it up. You can switch around a little bit. And at the end of the day, what you will probably find, at least what I have found, is that the double-edged and single-edged give a better shaving experience than the disposables or the cartridge razors. So, all in all, it's a way to go. And in fact, I shaved with disposables for years and years. I mean, that's just, it's a way to go. Anybody that tells you otherwise, yeah, right. Okay, it's not your money. There's anybody that says in order to be a wet shaver, you have to have this razor and you have to have this soap and this brush. Boulder Dash. Not true. Shaving is like everything else. It's personal. If you want to use hand soap, that's fine. Want to use a, makeup brush? I don't care. If it works for you, great. Anybody that says, ooh, you got to have this, you got to have that, baloney. Anyhow, yeah, I've been getting a kick out of the Facebook pages lately where they're talking about the royalty of wet shaving. That's just funny. The royalty of wet shaving. Yeah, right. Now, I will admit there are some guys out there that have done a phenomenal job of spreading the word and sharing content and, promoting the hobby. I understand that. Now, some of them are doing it for business purposes, and I'm okay with that, a couple of them that pop to mind are GeoFatBoy. Does an excellent job. Has put out hundreds of videos. Oh my gosh. Good stuff all in all. Does he sell shaving products? Yeah. Okay. So what? He talks about stuff. He gives advice. He does a good job. You can learn a lot from his videos. It's not all about him. It's more about the hobby than it is all about him. Does he mention his stuff? Well, yeah. Because he's selling it. I understand that. I'm cool with that. Another one, Mark Hero, Sharpologist, Mantic 59. Wow, you want to talk about, okay, maybe not royalty, but an ambassador for the wet shaving hobby. Yeah, that's him. Good stuff. Has been out there for a long, long time. And, kind of started off at least for me, when I first looked around and said, okay, what's out here? He was one of the first ones that I ran into, and good stuff. A lot of content, wonderful blog site. I mean, just good stuff. It's, you've got some, they call them wet tubers. YouTubers, people who make YouTube videos. And, there's a lot of them out there. Do they have opinions? Sure. Some of them can be, rather opinionated. I'm okay with that. But it's up to you to take their opinion or not. So the whole concept, within a forum group or something, within a Facebook page, yeah, maybe. I don't know. You can get a bunch of guys who think that they're in charge. Yeah, it can happen. But royalty of wet shaving, yeah. Oh goodness. I get a kick out of that, And the thing is that it may be happening. Hell, I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time on. I've got other stuff to do. I've got a life. Yeah, it's just. It's kind of like everything else in life, It's up to you to take it or leave it, and if something happens, or if you run into something, it's up to you to decide how you're going to react to it. If you find out you don't like being in a place, well, don't go there. It's just it's okay, but it is funny. It's also funny to see the reactions of people. When they start talking about the wet shaving royalty or the wet shaving police or this or that. And it may be happening. Hell, I don't know. Like I said, if it is, I can guarantee they don't let me into those groups. I'm much more of an anarchist. It's for me, it's much more about, hey, if it makes you happy, I'm cool with that. And, I'm willing to help people out. I'm willing to spread the word. I got no problem with that. But, I don't know. Some people start throwing around attitude, and that's when it's like, you know what? Maybe not. It's just who I am. It's just, like I said, I'm probably more of an anarchist than anything else. It's just, we'll figure it out. It'll all be all right in the end. At the end of the day, it's just, it is just about shaving. And, it's not important enough to get feelings hurt or to get upset or to get mad or anything. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. I mean, I've had some comments. It's been pretty funny. I've had some comments, and it's like you look at it and you go, okay, maybe. I'll take it with a grain of salt, and I'll think about it. Let me ponder it a while. And meanwhile, I'm going to go have a shave. And maybe an adult beverage. Yeah, that'll help. Anyhow, that was the shave of the day. Like I said, a little off topic, but what the heck. It was an interesting comparison between the two lightweight razors from kind of two different generations, or at least mindsets when they created them, and a different mindset to perform the same task. It's just interesting, and one of the things that's terribly interesting when I look at it is, the double-edged razor design. It's rather a classic design, but darn it works. And so you realize real quickly that, the reason that we have something different now is because the patents had run out on what worked. And so now you got to come up with something else that also, sort of works, or at least comes close to working. And if you can market it and patent it, and then all of a sudden it's yours, and you can make money off of it again, and woohoo! So you kind of step back and you wonder, okay, so if that's happened within the wet shaving, community, within, the razor community, with double-edged and single-edged razors, and that the designs have changed and this and that, just so that somebody could have a patent and make money off of it and guarantee an income. What else in our daily lives had functioned flawlessly, wonderfully, beautifully, people enjoyed it, and it was all great and good until the patents ran out and somebody figured out that they couldn't guarantee an income off of it. And then they changed the design, jumped up and down on the marketing bandwagon to promote the new design as being something, greater, better, more superb, more desirable, etc., etc. And lo and behold, we find ourselves now with something that doesn't work half as good as what it did in the past. You think about it, if it's conceivable for that to happen within razor technology, isn't it conceivable that would happen, somewhere else? cars, motorcycles, stuff that's used at home. I mean, to be quite honest, look at the issues that we've had, for example, between cast iron cookware and aluminum pans with Teflon coatings. Okay, I have a couple. I have a bunch of cast iron, but I have a couple of cast iron pans that I have been using for years and years and years. Those things are solid as a rock. Those things cook wonderfully. Those things, if I use them correctly, are as anti-stick as any Teflon coating has ever wanted to be. Meanwhile, I have a wife that enjoys Teflon coating. And about once a year, she has to buy a new pan because the Teflon chips and flakes and, it gets beat up and knocked with things, metal utensils, or just in the drawer where she keeps the pans. The Teflon slowly degrades. Okay, so you got to ask yourself, how much Teflon are we consuming? I don't know. But the thing is that I had within a cast iron pan a wonderful anti-stick solution that did an excellent job and was exceedingly durable. You buy it once, and you may have one or two pans over your lifetime, okay, versus an aluminum pan with Teflon coating that we have to replace once a year. Oh, and the cost is about the same. When you step back and look at things like that and you think to yourself, okay, who is this really benefiting? Is it benefiting the consumer or is it benefiting the corporation that is selling the products? Okay. So now it becomes incumbent on us as a population to look around and say, all right, where have things gone south on us and how do we get back to the good stuff? That's up to us. That's on our shoulders. Now, you got to understand another thing. I'm okay with the corporations trying to sell stuff. Because to me, the market should decide. The problem that I have is that people do not understand that they're being marketed to when it comes to all kinds of things, whether it be the new Gillette, razor that has the sphere on it that swivels and pivots and does all this, or it's the new aluminum pan with greater heat transfer coated with Teflon, which, by the way, doesn't transfer heat just real good. But it's the marketing. And people don't understand they're being marketed to all the time. It's really incredible. It is what it is, but it is rather incredible. And meanwhile, quite honestly, when you step back and look, the majority of us that have jobs and investments and things like that, whether it be a 401k or, sometimes it's even as simple as a savings account at a bank because the bank takes the extra money and then invests it so they can pay the interest, whatever measly little sum it is on your account. They may be putting money in stocks and things like that. And, you look at 401ks and they're invested in corporations and, the way that corporations make money is by selling their products and the way that they sell their products is by marketing. And, you run into a situation where you have all these people that have 401ks and if, for example, you got rid of marketing overnight, half of these companies would fold and people's 401k values would diminish to just darn near nothing, and it's like that would be a total disaster as well. So you really, we've built a city here on a foundation of marketing twigs, and if you get rid of the marketing, the whole city falls down. It's really an intriguing, social experiment, if you will. But at the end of the day, you got to understand marketing is what it is. And if I can convince you to purchase something or at least to consider something because it is the best and the greatest, whether that be an aluminum pan or a politician, it's all about the marketing. Golly, if you look, for example, at the amount of money spent on marketing versus the amount of money spent on research and development, typically what you have is a whole lot more money on marketing and a whole lot less money on research and development, which makes you wonder, are we really getting better or are we just getting by? All right, so the battle has begun. Yesterday on Facebook, I posted a picture of my my Mercure Bakelite featherweight and a Gillette disposable razor, 2-blade, with the caption, "Let the battle begin." And of course, I got one comment, "Nice Gillette, where'd you find it?" Yeah, plastic Gillette found in the wild. Anyhow, so today was day 2 of the lightweight shave battle, if you will, and here are some of my observations. First off, use the Phoenix Gondolier one more time with the boar brush. My 1305 got an excellent lather, beautiful lather, great lather, not a problem there. And proceeded to shave with the Gillette disposable razor on the right side and the Mercure on the left side. 3-pass shave. Each razor going the same direction for the pass. So if I'm going straight down on the first pass, I'm doing straight down on both sides with both razors. So just to kind of give you a feel for the what I was doing. The other thing that was a little bit different is this time I just kind of rinsed my face off between passes just to kind of get a feel for what was going on. And that proved interesting. Yesterday I did not because I wanted to kind of get an overall, and today I did just to kind of get a feel for what was happening, how things were progressing and advancing. So my main observation this morning was that the double-edged Gillette pulled. I could feel a distinctive pull with that razor that I did not get with the double-edged Mercure. Now, was it uncomfortable? No, but there was a distinctive pull. Now, the lather that I had was an absolutely fabulous lather, so it wasn't a situation where, I didn't have enough glide or something like that. Trust me, I had plenty of glide. That was not the issue. But there was a distinctive pull from the razor, almost as if the razor blades themselves were either not sharp, dull, or the double-edged blade was doing exactly what it, is supposed to do and not cutting completely through the hair before it starts engaging at a lower level with the second blade, or with the lower blade, if you will, and giving a distinctive pull feel to it. Now, previously I'd used a cartridge razor, and I'd kind of I'd made the comment, as I recall, that the using the razor kind of felt like pulling a zipper across my face, and yes, it was very akin to that, and the zipper feel, if you will, upon reflection, was the pulling of the razor. That's the only way that I can describe it. There is a pull to a multi-blade razor, whether it be a cartridge or disposable or whatever. Now, that pull does not exist with a single-edged or a double-edged razor. It's a unique feel. It's, I'm not going to say it's unpleasant, but at the same time, after having used straight razor, single edge, and double edge for so long, it's a wonder. It truly is a wonder how the Gillette was, the Gillette company or Bic or someone like that how they were able to sell the double-edged razors, because, like I said, they do have a distinctive pull and a little bit different feel. So it would be interesting to go back in time and have a look at the marketing to see just, well, how they did that. And maybe it's one of those things where the goo in a can that they have has more acids and softeners and God knows what else in there to take the hairs and make them softer so that it's not as noticeable. Maybe that's an issue. I don't know. It is a curiosity though, because you would almost associate the difference in shave qualities between the two, whether it be the multi-blade disposable or the single edge, if you will, of a double-edged razor. It's just weird. It's like one is smooth and almost effortless, and the other one has now you got to understand. The reason that I wanted to try these is because they're both very lightweight razors, and I wanted to do this with an exceptionally light amount of pressure, if any pressure at all. So I made a conscious effort to put absolutely no pressure on either razor. And so it may be that the reason that I'm feeling it is because I was putting, no pressure on the razor. And it may also be that, once you start pressing the razor into your skin, be it a cartridge razor or a disposable, that you don't necessarily feel the pull. That very well could be the issue there, and that may be one of the things that, made it easier to market or to, for lack of a better word, get away with. Because, again, in comparing the two, I prefer the double-edged, just because it is a nice, easy glide. It's a nice, easy slide. There's no pulling. There's no tugging. And in fact, out of both razors, I did get a nick yesterday. And the nick that I got was not from the double-edged razor. It was from the disposable. Which is just curious. Now, the other thing that I did is for an aftershave, I threw on some Ogallala, and I did that on purpose because the Ogallala, the Ogallala Bay rum that I have is unique in that it has a certain, let's just say burn characteristic, or feel characteristic, stinging, burning, however you want to describe it. That is unique to Ogallala, at least for me, and can tell me very, very quickly about the quality of my shave. If I have an absolutely excellent shave with no skin irritation whatsoever, I can throw on Ogallala Bay rum and have absolutely no burn at all. I've achieved that about 4 times in my life. And they have been absolutely mystical and magical experiences where I walk out the door feeling like I have, like I'm a rock star, like I've achieved the pinnacle, like I'm, Merlin the magician, and nothing can stand in my way. So there is that. So throwing on the Ogallala, what I noticed was there was at first about the same amount of, I was going to say burn, but it's more like tingling. There was the same amount on both sides, which means that there was some irritation on both sides. But the thing that was really, really interesting, and I have not, and I hadn't experienced it before, was that the side that I used the double-edged razor on subsided first. And the side that I used the disposable razor on lasted for about twice the amount of time for, I'm not going to call it discomfort, but, the Ogallala Bay Rum Witch Hazel sting, if you will. It lasted longer, which was, interesting, and I don't quite understand what that signifies. The initial application, it's like, okay, everything is about at the same level. It's like, okay, there it is. And then the one side subsides and the other side kind of keeps going. And it's like, what the hey? So I don't know if the pulling and tugging created irritation that was deeper, perhaps. Irritation that went down below the top layer of the skin, because it is potentially pulling on hair follicles all across your face. So there may be some of that going on. But it was an absolute curiosity. It really was not something that I expected, and so I thought I'd report on that. So anyhow, the battle. Okay, so at the end of the day, what do I think? All right, if you are, and this is what I don't know, because I don't have enough experience at all with it, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to go there. What I was wondering is if the goo in a can allows more, or allows a more comfortable shave because it softens chemically the beard, which I don't really buy, because there's more hydration in there's more hydration in the soaps and lathers that we do in traditional wet shaving. And it's the water that softens the beard up to like 60%. So I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. But anyhow, I digress a little bit. Well, maybe not, but you get the idea. I'm stumbling around here because I'm trying to find a thought, and it's eluding me at this point. Anyhow, what I was going to say is, at the end of the day, it is possible to go ahead and start off with a brush and soap and lather and everything, and do traditional wet shaving still using a cartridge razor or disposable razor. Yes, you can go that route. However, I would at this point say that you are not going to have the comfort level. That's probably the easiest way to say it. You're not going to have the comfort level of a true wet shaving experience until you go ahead and get the double-edged razor, single-edged razor, straight razor, whatever, and find the combination that works well for you. There's a comfort level that is achieved that at this point I don't think you can achieve with a cartridge razor or a disposable double-edged. So that would be my advice at this point. You could go that route, and it would probably be okay. And again, keep in mind, I'm using very little to no pressure while I was using the disposable. And I know from experience, because I used to use a disposable way back when, that you can get very nice close shaves by putting more pressure on. And I would hazard a guess that by putting more pressure on, you don't notice the tugging at all. So there's more effort that goes into pulling the double-edged blade through, or I'm sorry, the double blade through your beard. So it was an interesting battle. I'm glad I did it. It was an interesting head-to-head. It kind of, shined a light on some things that I hadn't really expected or anticipated, and I did enjoy that. So there you go, the battle of the lightweight razors, and my money for comfort, for cost, for just general well-being, if you will, is the double-edged Mercure in this case for lightweight razors. And who knows? Maybe I'll do a double-edged Mercure against the Gem Featherweight, which is not quite as light, but is still fairly light. I don't know. Yeah, it's just you can slowly start to ramp up in weights until you get into the heavy weights where you have these solid stainless steel monsters that just all the weights in the head, or the things that have a handle that's made out of solid brass or something. You can get carried away in either department, either going lightweight or heavyweight. And I don't know, sometimes it's fun. And people enjoy it. I understand that. And that's part of the attractiveness, if you will, of the hobby. is that you can go in either direction and still end up at the end of the day with a perfectly good shave. Let's talk about motivation for a minute. Motivation is an interesting thing. Now, when we say motivation, we typically understand motivation at a very personal level. What we sometimes miss is what's the motivation for other people to do things or sometimes not do things. It's really, in order to understand marketing and in order to understand sales pitches and the way things, the way things are being presented to you, sometimes you really need to kind of step back and understand, well, motivations. Okay, so let's start, for example, with something that most people, I think, can agree with, in that politicians, on both sides, and it doesn't really matter what party or anything like that, politicians have a reputation, let's put it that way. Politicians have a reputation for saying anything in order to get elected and then, for whatever reason, not following through with what they say. Okay, so what's their motivation? Why do they do that? Well, they do that so that people will vote for them. That is their motivation. Their motivation is to do whatever it takes, and sometimes stretching moral grounds, if you will, one way or another, in order to allow that to happen, but to do whatever it takes so that people will vote for them, or that they can eliminate the other guy, okay? So that the people have basically no choice because they're the only one left standing. Okay, fair enough. If you take it at that, well, let's just say extreme, you can get a better understanding of how motivation drives things and how motivation kind of changes what people would normally do, I guess is the best way to say it. So then you step back and you say, okay, what is the motivation of, well, a corporation that manufactures things? For example, we'll just pick a big one. Procter & Gamble. They make shampoos and toothpaste and all this other stuff. Their motivation is for you to buy more of their stuff because they make profits on a per product basis. So, it's just, let's just say for the sake of argument, we'll deal with toothpaste, okay? The way that the manufacturer of the toothpaste makes money is by selling tubes of toothpaste, okay? And the ultimate game, the ultimate goal, the ultimate desire of this corporation is to sell more tubes of toothpaste. Okay, so let's just throw a hypothetical out there. Let's just say there is a toothbrush manufacturer, and the toothbrush manufacturer sells a toothbrush that is a very small round surface of bristles that they have put in a brush so that you can brush your teeth. And this toothbrush, which works very, very nicely, is about the size of, maybe a 1/4 inch in diameter, or less, okay? And I'm just throwing, we'll call it 1/8 of an inch in diameter, just to make a point. 1/8 of an inch in diameter, and it's a circular bristle pattern, and it's got a handle, and it works very, very nicely. However, the toothpaste manufacturer looks at that and goes, if people would squeeze more toothpaste out of the toothpaste container, they would go through toothpaste faster. And therefore, we would sell more toothpaste. And next thing you know, the toothpaste manufacturer buys or creates a toothbrush that is long and very similar to some of the toothbrushes that we have now. And so when people come upon that long toothbrush, what do? They put a long strip of toothpaste on it. A strip that under the old system with the small round toothbrush would have been almost a week's worth of toothpaste. Now, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Well, maybe. But think about it. How much toothpaste do you really need? Okay? And then you step back and you say, okay, how much toothpaste do you really need to do the job correctly or efficiently? And how much toothpaste do you actually use? And you start to see there is, I'm not going to say it's insidious, but there is a ploy, if you will, a desire to make things in such a way that, well, let's just say they complement each other in order to achieve someone's goals. Okay, so I've used the example of toothpaste, but, you know, there are many, many examples of that. You know, if you look at the goo in a can, for example, okay, how much goo in a can do you use versus how much do you actually need? I don't know. But the thing is that, you know, the whole desire of the manufacturer is for you to buy more of the manufactured product. It's really, really curious. And so you kind of have to step back and look at everything that is going on and say, okay, is this really, you know, are they wanting me to use the correct amount? Are they, you know, asking me to accept the correct amount? Or are they asking me to do something I would not normally do because they're trying to make it, well, normal? It's an interesting concept. And it really falls into the, if you look at corporations and politicians and policy change, in fact, change management, because that's kind of what you're talking about. You have this neat little thing called an Overton window. And an Overton window is an interesting theory. The Overton window says that, okay, you're sitting there in your recliner at the house, and everything is good, and everything is, well, normal. And you have an expectation of normalcy, okay? You have an expectation that things are going to continue, well, as normal. All right. The Overton window basically describes the amount of variation your psyche, your personality, your thought process is willing to accept before it starts throwing up red flags and yelling at you saying, well, wait a minute, this is not normal. This is very, very different. And so the theory is that if you take this Overton window and you slide it a little bit, you can get away with slowly changing what normal is, and the person that is experiencing this doesn't even really notice it. It's very similar in concept to the adage that you put a frog in a pot of water and you slowly turn up the heat, and eventually you will boil the frog. And the frog will sit there the whole time not thinking anything's wrong. Okay, now, that is in fact a fallacy, but I think people understand the idea, the thought process, and the principle, and it applies absolutely succinctly to the Overton window. As long as the change that is occurring is small enough to stay within that window, you don't understand or realize it's not a big enough change for you to go, wait a minute, there's something different here. And so, to a certain extent, manufacturers apply these principles and marketing people apply these principles so that as things change, nothing changes too drastically and nothing changes too rapidly to get out of the Overton window. And as long as it stays in the Overton window, you can slowly shift and change societal patterns and norms and everything else. And at the end of the day, people look around and go, well, how the heck did we get here? Well, under most circumstances, you got there very slowly. and you got there in a method that was very well understood and laid out by the people that were doing it. Scary, isn't it? So, when you think, how do they do this? How do they get away with this? Well, one of the ways is to go very, very slowly within one simple and succinct definition of what they're trying to change. For example, currency. We'll just take currency. Okay? If I have, control over all of the currency, and I slowly, over time, changed what a quarter looked like. I changed the material, I changed the size slightly, I could probably, over the course of time, make a quarter look like a dime. Hey, nice rhyme there. And if I did it correctly, you may not even notice. It would take a long time, but it would be possible to do something like that without anybody even really noticing. Okay. Now, there's another way to go about change, and sometimes we see that as well, and that is a change where, okay, instead of taking one aspect and changing it slowly, we take all the aspects of everything in life that we can think of, I call it 100, and we change them all rapidly to the point where we just overload. So one is a slow and methodical drift, if you will, toward a certain goal. And the other one is just we change everything and we use it as misdirection and overloading, and sometimes that happens too. Now, this all goes back to motivation. Okay. So why do people do these things? They do these things because they desire change. And the problem is that they desire the change that everybody else doesn't really want. And so you look at, for example, the change or the difference, the evolution of safety razors. Well, we'll just go back to shaving for a second. We'll take something as simple as a safety razor. And you go from a double-edged razor, which is a phenomenal product and works very, very nicely. No drag, no issues, it works very, very nicely, very, very well, and people are used to it. And your motivation is to now get people off of that because the patent has run out and you can't guarantee your income stream. And so now you want to motivate people to go to a double-edged plastic something or other, whether it be disposable or a track-to cartridge or whatever, okay? But your motivation is to get them to go to that. And then you have to stand back and say, okay, how did we get here? And more than likely, what we got here is through a slow shift. You went from a double-edged razor to a track 2 where, okay, you still have a handle, but it's a lot simpler, it's a lot easier, it's not as complicated, and instead of having a blade that could potentially cut you and be a safety issue, well, now all of a sudden you have a cartridge that has 2 blades in it, and it's safer. You can handle it and it be, safe. You're not going to cut yourself. And so people can accept that small shift in technologies, and people can accept that small change. And next thing you know, it changes into a multi-bladed cartridge razor monster that costs you an arm, a leg, and possibly your first child when you go to buy it at the store. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.